Okay, so a summary, and then going forward. What he established is Yedechem Kodesh uvorcho esavai. Without repeating the questions, just the beer. The Frierdiker Rebbe said that Baruch Havaya means that we're mamshich in Shem Havaya, the darge of Kodesh. That's what the Baruch Havaya means. The pasuk goes on to say, Yedechem Hashem Tzion, and as a result of that, Tzion, which is the Nekudas HaNeshama, is called Tzion Yechide. Now, the Rebbe added to this two things. Number one, that elsewhere in Chassidus we learn that the Frierdiker Rebbe is speaking about being mamshich in the lower Shem Havaya, Havaya de l'Sata, Havaya de l'Eila. But elsewhere in Chassidus, this Pirush is also said with respect to Havaya de l'Eila, and hence the Madreg of Kodesh is even higher than the one at least overtly implied by the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimer. To be specific, B'chalal the Rebbe adds in Chassidus, the Madreg of Kodesh is Chochmah. But in this case, since the Frierdiker Rebbe says that it's the Nekudas HaNeshama Yechida, so therefore, Kodesh L'mayla, the parallel to Yechida L'mayla, is Keser. What seems to be going on here, and this needs much further thinking and elaboration, is that the Rebbe has introduced and said that B'chalal, the Frierdiker Rebbe is speaking about Havaya de l'Sata, but this is also true of Havaya de l'Eila. However, my problem is, and it just seems this is the fact, that in the Frierdiker Rebbe's own Maimer, since he says that the brachas mitzion, he's really saying that too, because the darga of tzion is a darga which is connected with Havaya de l'Eila, Keser, overall. He doesn't spell this out, but I don't see any other way around this. So, Akoponim, the conclusion is, practical conclusion, going forward in the Maimer is as follows: that the Madrege of Kodesh, although usually it means Chochmah, here it means Keser. Again, what compelled that explanation is the fact that the Frierdiker Rebbe says that Mitzion is the level of Nekudas HaNeshama, the level of Yechida, the parallel of which is not Chochmah, but rather Keser, Rotzen. And then goes on to say as follows: that since being mamshich, the inyan of Tosfos and Shem Havaya, and Shem Havaya elaborates, already includes Chochmah, so therefore we must say that what we're being mamshich is Madrege of Keser, because Yudke Vovke, Yud is already Chochmah. So you're saying that why does the Frierdiker Rebbe say that Yedechem Kodesh reaches a level of Yechida, even though usually Kodesh is a reference to Chochmah? Because since we're talking about the Baruch Havaya, Tosfos and Shem Havaya, doesn't differentiate now here, lower, higher, which also confuses the matter. But at any rate, since it being Mamshech and Shem Havaya, therefore it has to be not Chochmah, but Keser. Maybe later in the mind, but we'll get, this will be unraveled, this mystery right now, not clear. Now, the Hoyer was a whole lot with copious notes, stars, and notes on the stars. We're not going to repeat it. That was yesterday's year. And the Nekuda is that in the letter Yud, there's a stroke of the Yud. And Alter Rebbe says that hints to the level of Keser. So it's already present in Yud Kevov, the level of Keser. What does it mean when mamshechet? The answer is it's only there by the Mizah, alluded to, and we mamshechet begoloi. And yesterday we explained what that means. The Mizah and begoloi, bepoel. Okay, now is base. So conclusion right now is that Yedechem Kodesh v'vorchas Havaya means that a Yid is mamshich, the madreg of Kodesh, which is Keser, in Shem Havaya. The Dotzen, the pure Dotzen in Shem Havaya. Again, this is all just geography. Yesterday we explained the Inyan to a degree, and we'll continue. Beis, v'yesh lekasha zeh mashn is b'Eliel. So again, connecting all the aforementioned. Yeah, we didn't do this yet. With that which we learned in the previous Maimer, the Maimer of Yud Beis Tmuz. Binye Masha Kosa Bidr, it says in Zoyar, Sheyesh Beis B'chinas Eden, there's two levels of Gan Eden. Eden Tatova, Eden Ilah, the lower and the higher. Shemhem Nimshachim, Beis B'chinas Gan Eden. From both of them, the level of Gan Eden emerges. So there's two levels of Eden, and hence two levels of Gan Eden. Gan Eden, Tachtim Gan Eden Elyon, the lower Gan Eden, and the lower, the higher, and the higher. So there's Eden, which he explained earlier as pure Tainug, and then there's that Mshach of Eden in Gan on two levels, which produce Gan Eden Tachtim Gan Eden Elyon. Now in brackets, we're just identifying two, there's endless levels. Like you said in the previous Maimik, Yedu bin Ukdoshim B'chol Yom Alulu Chasela, the Holy Ones referring to the Neshamas. Praise you every day, Selah, unto eternity. So that means Selah means endless levels. That's true still. Overall, these endless levels are divided into two categories. Gan Eden HaTachten and Gan Eden HaElyon. Okay, obviously, we're speaking about a relative infinite. If the infinite is divided into two levels, one category of infinite, another. But we're used to that because it is relative. So what's the union of the two levels of Gan Eden? Two levels of Eden, and then two levels of Gan Eden. So he starts with Eden. Eden Ilah. What's Eden Ilah? The higher level of Eden, it's the hidden level of Chachma, and also included in Eden Ilah is Chachma Ilah, the supernal Chachma. We've learned about this, he doesn't elaborate. The supernal Chachma springs from the Chachma Stima, the closed Chachma. Anyway, it's Dargis in Bittul, Dargis in the parallel would be in the human experience. There's dargis in the nature of the epiphany of the discovery, how essential it is, or how more expressed it is. So that's the darga in summary of Eden. We have to remember these levels because we're playing with four levels here, right? Gan Eden, Gan Eden, each one is two levels. So he's starting off with the highest level. So the first level of Eden, which is Eden Ilah, again, summary, Chachma. Chachma Stima, the hidden Chachma, which means not articulated yet, relatively speaking, in consciousness. And then, that's the parallel Lamata. And then there's Chachma Ilah. Umisham Nimshach Legan Eden. So from this Chachma, this is drawn to the level of Gan, or Gan Eden, to give it its full name. What's that? Bina. Kinas Bina. That's the garden that receives. He's referring here to the river that flows out of Eden that waters the garden. That's how the Pasuk describes it. So this flow out of Eden is the Amshocha of Chochmah to Bina. That's the first recipient, the first garden, a garden where things develop and grow and expand. That's Bina. So this level is so that's described by Chazal as the tzaddikim sitting there and delighting in the rays of the divine presence. And the diak is in Dafke, So they delight, the pleasure, shoyin tainug. And that's tainug. That's the experience of Gan Eden or Elyon, delighting in God. V'yadua shegilu, that tainug atik, and it's known, we've accounted this too, that the gilui of tainug in its pure form, which is atik, right? Atik as opposed to arich. You just quickly tell me. So what's atik is defined as tainug, and what would arich be defined in terms of the human experience? And even lamaila, the same term is used. Arich is what? The two levels of kesser, atik and arich.
Rotzen.
The rotzen are alien. So without going to any arichas now, just put this in the background context, which we mentioned frequently. The deepest level of atik is the pleasure of being. It's not about experiencing something else. So the gili of atik, now we're talking and then there's parallels in that, in the nature of the way a seichel, a true novel idea is discovered and developed. It's also that level of pure atik, pure tainug. So the gili tainug, who bebina is in bina. Why? Because the gili of that tainug, as opposed to when the person first has that discovery, we're talking really about a discovery that is life transforming, that's really novel, that changes the being of everything. That's why it's an atzmisdik tainug. What I'm addressing is seichel. I mean, how does an idea have this atzmisdik tainug? Depends on what the idea. If the idea is that we're talking about a likus, if it's a discovery and an appreciation, an understanding of the being of God, then, which is what it all comes down to, is connecting to the Eibishter. So there is that discovery the way it is mitzad, the level of tainug, the deep level of tainug, chochma stima within the person, and that is so, the person is so nullified there that it's not experienced, and it's the truth of a likus that is being expressed. But the gili of it is in bina, when he internalizes it and understands it and threads this truth through all of the details of existence, to use the biggest marshal possible. Concluding, v'hainu shechachma b'chinas nekuda, that the chachma level, chachma stima, chachma yilah, there is tainug there in that moment of indeed so. So, but that's in the kuda. So that's the beginning of the gili of tainug, b'chinas etzem tainug. So this is all Eden. Shalachein yikras ha-chachma. That's why chachma is called. You have the same layout as me. Yeah, turn the page. B'shem Eden, why it's called Eden. The word Eden means to indulge. Shepirushe tainug, delight. Aval gilui v'israchvas tainug. But that's the Eden level. What's the Gan level? The gilui and the expansion of it, and the appreciation of it, the application of it. As the garden thrives and grows and so on. So that's bebina, that's in bina, and that's Gan Eden. Okay. The geography continues in a lot of detail. In more detail, yesh bazeh gimel madreges. We spoke about two now, Eden and then Gan. Now 3 levels. Let's see what they are. So Gan is a level b'chinas bina, which you just said. That's the garden. That's the appreciation of the truth that was discovered. That's level 1. Then there's b'chinas Eden k'vi shenimshach b'gan. Then there's chachma, or Eden is drawn into the Gan. So that's a level in between pure chachma and bina. Which is hamshachas ha-chachma bibina. That's as chachma is drawn into the world of bina. And in brackets, the Zohar speaks, that the Alter quotes in the Torah about describing Bina as Nekuda, a point, Beichala, in the chamber. Very cryptic words. What does it mean? He translates this, B'nefesh Adam. It means that the Nekudas HaChochma Shemeres Es HaSaga, the original discovery continues and protects or watches over the expansion of the idea, that it should not deviate. Because if you lose the original vision, the original Nekuda, and as we expand it and apply it, we can corrupt it. And it literally goes crooked. You know, at a level, a person has a vision of something he wants to build, and it begins with, again, just a Nekuda. And then he embarks upon the project. There's the danger that the project, as the details develop and etc., is unfaithful and deviates from the original vision. So you've got to keep that original vision always in mind. It's a general piece of advice. The goal and objective, the person has to constantly in life, go back to what, what's it all about? Who am I? What's my Nekuda? Because it's easy to get lost in the building. The word binyan comes from the word building, and you build and you add, and it's disproportionate, and it's lost the original vision. And you build and add things that don't really belong there. They're dragging. They're actually a detriment to the overall vision. Carrying baggage, getting involved in stuff that one shouldn't be. Can happen easily. There's one thing leads to the other. So there has to be the Nekuda always, like, what's the Nekuda? So that is what the second level, we're going from the bottom up. So there's Bina, then there's Chochma that's in Bina, keeping it faithful. In a way, that's what a Fabrengen is, to revisit the Nekuda again, like not get lost. In a way. And then there's the third level, the pure Chochma. Right, so the three levels, the pure Chochma, and I'll start from the top down. The pure Chochma as it's the Nekuda, then Chochma it's drawn into Bina, that second level, and then there's Bina, third level. Okay, that's what Proteus. All of this was Gan Eden Elyon. Now Gan Eden HaTachton. He's really, friends, elaborating what we learned in the previous Maamar. With Bekitza, this is Padichus. Yes, Gam, Beginnes Eden Taton, then there's the lower Gan Eden. What's that? So it is Chochma, but not Chochma in its pure form, but Chochma de Zoh. So this is Chochma of Zoh. What's Zoh? Let's remember. Zoh are the Midas, the 6 Midas. So you're asking, what's Chochma doing down there in the world of Midas? First of all, the answer is that, again, all the levels are integrated. So every level is present in every level. But overall, the meaning is, as we said earlier, if the Nekudas HaChochma is not present in one way or another, then the rest of the whole building the whole experience is disconnected. It's a life of its own, and it's no longer what it should be. In simple language, if the midas are going to be what they're supposed to be, that's Zoh. The midas, the emotional response has to be always connected to the objective discovery of the truth that began the whole process, which is Chochma. And the midas really need that because they're subjective. So the midas mamish needing in the Chochma. If Bina needs it, which is somewhat objective, just trying to understand it, and you still need to consciously hang on to the Nekuda, because Bina is already a degree of Yeshes, how much more so in the world of emotion, there's the need for the inyan of Chochma there as well. So we're talking, this is authentic emotions, authentic experiences, so there's the inyan of Chochma Dezah. That's Eden. What I'm saying, friends, I barely understand what I'm saying. So if you don't understand something, please ask me. Nimsheches hisrachvos havona vasoge beganed natachte. So even though it's the world of Zohar, emotions, but it's not detached emotions, it's emotions, obviously, but it's a result of appreciating and understanding the truth of the likus. There cannot be an emotion without seichel. You're loving what? I mean, it can't be disembodied. It's got to be directed by the mind. So he's saying here, here it's already unlike Gan Eden Alien, where even the bina there is very bittul. It's like Yerushalmi versus Bavli, right? You understand the mashal I'm saying? The Eden Alien is like Yerushalmi. It's pithy, it's brief, not a lot of noise, not a lot of discussion. Even though there is Havana Vasoga, and Bavli is a very noisy place. Lots of opinions and very strong language often used. So that's like it's a moshe from Gan Eden Natach. So there, Mishom that's Yisrachvos, Avona, Vasab Gan Eden Natach. That's and what's the gun of Gan Eden Natach? Malchus. The Eden is Chochma Dezah, and the gun, the recipient, is Malchus. The final expression, the words that are said, or the behavior, etc. And just like we said, Benegay Gan Eden Elyon, that the three levels of Prati is the same is also true Gan Eden Natach. The Prati is just 3 levels. Again, going from the bottom up. So Gan, that's Malchus. Then there's Eden, Kvisha Nimsha Began. That's some Shochas Chochma Dezah in Malchus. Same parallel, same model. And then there's Eden itself, because Eden Atzmei Chochma Dezah. Okay, it's clear, it's all technical. Basically, we're trying to offer a little bit of understanding, but the main thing is to get to Madregas now. Conclusion of all of the above is, everybody's with me? Need some feedback? Yeah? Okay, good. The Nimtza comes out, Shepchinas Eden, Vegan Eden. So overall, the level of Eden, level of Gan Eden, in both the upper and the lower. The end is Nichlolim Kol Eses Sviris. The entire 10 Sviris are incorporated or expressed here. Sheheim Keneged Daladois Shemavai, which, as we said before, correspond to the 4 letters of Shemavai. With this Chochmah, He is Bina, Vav is Zoh, and the final He is Malchus. He also mentioned that if you spell out the letters, remember, Yud Ke Vav Ke, you get 10 letters. Commission is barely, like we said in the previous Maimer, in summary, Shegan Eden Elyon, which is the Yichud of Chochmah Bina, that's Yichud Yudke. Gan Eden Natachtem, which is the Yichud of Chochmah Dezah, that's the Vav. With Malchus, Hey, is Yichud Vavke. Yeah, there's 2 Yichudim, Chochmah Bina, and Zoh and Malchus. Now, however, further. This that the neshamas sit and delight in Gan Eden, in brackets. Overall, whether it's the lower level, the higher level, they be mekabel from the 4 letters of Shemavaya. So that is only, the Pshat is like this. If you have a different Pshat, you'll tell me. I think the Pshat is that he's saying, he's qualifying it, limiting it. That's the Ziv, that's the ray of the Torah V'Aveda. V'hainu, meaning to say that the Torah and Aveda itself is even higher than that. V'hainu shadei tirosan v'avedosan mamshichim tois v's'ol began Eden, because we're describing Gan Eden, but through the Aveda through a Torah and Avodah, the Ano is the Ziv of the Torah and Avodah. The Torah and Avodah itself is Mamshich Tois V'S'or Began Eden. Even a greater revelation than the Yichud of Chochmah Bina and the Yichud of Zohar and Malchus, which are the two levels of Gan Eden and Tachten. That's what the Yid contributes to Gan Eden. Mitzvah say, mitzvah loisase. So the Indian said this, that a Yid is mamshich teisvus in Gan Eden. Not only does he add revelation to the low level of Gan Eden, he's mamshich even a higher revelation in Gan Eden Elyon. Like he says in Tanya, Lametes, Shaydei Maisa mitzvahs. There he says, through the action of mitzvahs, Al-Tebbe says explicitly that we add in both levels of Gan Eden by saying that through our actions, which is the Malchus thing, that's the low level, Nimshach Eib Gan Eden Atachten. So that's Mamshach Eib Gan Eden Atachten, that's the Yichod of Zon Malchus gets a Toisvis through the Avoida, the Malchus of a Yid Lamata. But they Kavonas HaMitzvahs, and through his Kavona, using his mind, primarily, that's where Kavona is experienced, Nimshach, which is Chachma and Bina, he's through his Kavona in mitzvahs, this is Teirosa and Vavidosa, Nimshach Eib Gan Eden Elyon. He's Mamshech Eib Gan Eden Elyon. V'nimtza, let's conclude, and we'll try and explain a little bit. Shinyin Teirosa and Vavidosa, the Teir and Avodah V'yid, Shal Yodoi Nimshach Teisus Eib Gan Eden, through which he adds revelation in Gan Eden, him Gan Eden Atachten, both the low level, which is Vav and Hey, him Gan Eden Elyon at the higher level, B'chinas Yudke, who bedugmas inyan, this is what the pasuk is saying, Su Yedechem Kodesh U'Borchas Havaya, you mamshich in Shem Havaya, Shegam B'Shem Havaya, even in Shem Havaya, mamshich Ayid is reaches through his avoid, mamshichim Toisvis Oir, he reveals additional light, literally, Mibchinas Shalomai Mishem Havaya, what's that? B'chinas HaKeser, that's a level of Keser, what's the parallel in his Neshalom B'chinas HaYechida Kanal. So to offer some explanation again, we said yesterday, what does this mean? He's saying, bottom line, that the Yid is mamshich Keser. And his mamshich Keser Yechida, which is the pure Rotzana Elyon, in even Chachman, the Bina, even Gan Eden Elyon, and certainly in Gan Eden Tachten. And it's Poshet, the language it means, that a Yid reveals God's desire. Why is there Gan Eden Elyon? Why is there Gan Eden Tachten? Why is there Esesviris? It's all for you. And when you do the Avodah, and you allow me into your lives, you reveal my Rotzana Elyon, and that's the not the fusion, the suffuse. That's the Gilui of the Rotzana Elyon that branches, as it were. Gan Eden Elyon, Gan Eden Tachten, you've invoked my Rotzana. You've revealed my deepest desire. This whole binyan of Yishtal, it's why? For you. Because I want a relationship with you. So when a Yid does Torah and Avodah, he is Mamshech, the Rotzana Elyon, the Kodesh, the Keser, and Yechida. He unlocks Lamata, that he's one with the Eibush to even Lamata. That's what Yechida is. And that's the whole Kavanah. Okay, that's the pshat in the eyes. So it comes out that if I'm learning pshat correctly, so he said that the nanin in Gan Eden is only ziv terosan b'avidosan, making it very clear that Gan Eden, Elyon Tachten, and all of its levels, that's not the essential connection. Ziv terosan b'avidosan. But to connect to the Rotzana Elyon, it's dafke through the actual avodah itself, not the consequence of avodah. That's what you're saying, right? But ziv teros avodasan is very seductive, right? Because by many tzaddikim, you know the story, they were told it. Before they died, they said they're not going to Gan Eden until their pale Mashiach comes. They got seduced. Whatever way it was, it's because of the glory, the ziv, the justifications, the explanations, the experience, etc. But to be connected to the Pnimis HaKavon of Torah and Avodah, no Gan Eden Musad Yusuf. I'm just adding this. That's the pshat here. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow when I read today's story.